Bad Boys of U.S. History with Parker McClure, Jared Schlender, Keith Myers, and Ruben Conway. The bad boys of history impacted both you and me. They all fought the big man, and some remain a mystery. Some remain out in the open while others were forcibly. What they did wasn't right, but they don't care if you agree.
They tell you a story about a bad old fella, commander of the army down Louisiana. He kicked the British out and New Orleans was ours, and they probably went and partied and hit a couple bars. First president of the West, so old Hickory came to be. He ignored Supreme Court rule and thought he was a king. He pushed and shoved them Indians and told them all to leave, and down the trail of tears he caused them tons of grief. Second Bank of the United States really ticked him off. He used presidential power that allowed him to stop. With federal funds out of the picture in the second bank, their power was minimizing and soon began to sink. With his angry temper, he had two regrets, you see, and both of these came about the end of the presidency. With all his duels and all his fights, it may be hard to believe, but he wished he shot Henry Clay and hung John C. Andrew was the first of the bad boys, no doubt, forcing hatred upon the Indians, sending them on his route. Breaking apart the National Bank is how he went about, filling them with anger and rage, he consumed with a constant pout.
The bad boys of history impacted both you and me. They all fought the big man, and some remain a mystery. Some remain out in the open while others were forcibly. What they did wasn't right, but they don't care if you agree. The bad boys of history impacted both you and me. Impacted both you and me. The bad boys of history. The bad boys of history. The bad bad boys. Second got John Brown. He felt war was the only answer to bringing slavery down. He commanded forces at the Battle of Blackjack. Bleeding Kansas was the big picture of that. Brown and his men attempted to raid the armory that was stationed at Harper's Ferry. His plan was to have all the slaves bear arms and use them on their masters to break free from the farms. Robert E. Lee and his band of Marines caught him red-handed breaking into the armory. He was taken to court near Charleston for trial. He was guilty for treason and put away for a while. December 2nd came about and John's time was up. Quite frankly, he was done and didn't give a what. He was hung by his neck along with 4 other raiders. Northerners were baffled by his actions and behaviors. It's pretty obvious Brown was a bad boy. The killing, slaughtering, however, was no joy. John wanted to stop slavery, wanted to destroy the enslavement and all the black girls and the black boys. Bad boys of history impacted both you and me. They all fought the big man, and some remain a mystery. Some remain out in the open while others were forcibly. What they did wasn't right, but they don't care if you agree.
Capone was a major Chicago gangster of his time. He's top at the leaderboards for prohibition crimes. He smuggled in bootleg liquor and sometimes prostitution. However, people liked him and saw him as a solution. Referred to as the modern day Robin Hood, although his actions weren't necessarily good. Made donations to charities around his hood. Despite the law, his public figure still stood. St. Valentine's Day massacre was a problem when 7 rival gang members approached and he popped them. His reputation damaged by his involvement in these acts. It was no longer Robin Hood, as a matter of fact. He was convicted of federal charges of tax evasion and put in federal prison as the end of the equation. Released 8 years later and put on parole. Then a stroke put an end to Bad Boy's soul. Al Capone was a bad boy for show, smuggling that liquor hotter than so and so, making public like him like they like Sloppy Joe, but all good things come to an end like a Capone.
Boys of history impacted both you and me. They all fought the big man, and some remain a mystery. Some remain out in the open while others were forcibly. What they did wasn't right, but they don't care if you agree. I'll tell you about a bad boy named Jimi Hendrix, an influential songwriter with the help of Elvis, a popular musician from the 20th century. He has a bad boy rep in his bad boy history. After getting caught twice riding around in stolen cars, his choice was either join the army or get put behind some bars. He enlisted in the army back in May of '61, and he started playing music and began to have some fun. Woodstock was one of Jimmy's places of fame. His Star-Spangled Banner brought America to shame. This was to protest the war going on in Vietnam. The noise of his guitar were the sounds of falling bombs. He stood up against the government and stuck it to the man. Took as many drugs that he could possibly fit into his hand. Contributed to the movement of the hippies and fought to bring the men back home from overseas. John Brown here stood up for what he thought was right. Was Andrew Jackson swore he won't go down without a fight. Al Capone helped his neighbors like he should, and Jimi Hendrix fought for what he thought was good.